He is John Macuga, who has really turned this program around at New Brighton. They finish up the season this week against Union, but the young quarterback everyone's talking about, he delivered Peel over 200 yards, multiple touchdown passes, Mayo, Kirkland, big games offensively. Let's talk about that loss against Western Beaver. Definitely one you can learn from. And there's kind of a connection to Western Beaver and their team that they're facing this week, but I'll get to that in a moment. Let's recap the loss. Go ahead, Coach.
I mean, there's not a lot to say. They jumped out early, good football team. Lincoln Park, they have good athletes. So they got us up on us early and we couldn't catch back up.
And I know it's frustrating because you've had so much success in certain games you just wanted to be more competitive in. What do you think the reason why you weren't as competitive in this game? You had some people not in the lineup, and that hurts. And you really wanted to keep the ball on the ground. That didn't work. So a couple of things, but what was the reason why it just didn't work, you think?
Like you said, they have a good quarterback, and they were able to expose us a little bit. It didn't help that we fumbled through a pick six. They returned a block punt for a touchdown. We did some good things, just not enough good things to compete with a good team.
All right, talk about that young quarterback everyone's talking about, Javelin Peel. He's only a sophomore. He kind of stepped out, was going to go play for Central Catholic. Coach Lehmeyer didn't work out. He's back at Western Beaver. I'm sure Coach Busby and them are happy about that. But you've seen a lot of quarterbacks. What are his strengths, do you think, besides just being able to throw the football?
I mean, he can get out of the pocket, but I mean, his biggest strength is that he can throw a good deep ball, and they have good receivers that can go get him.
All right, fair enough. Now, this football team heading up against Union this week was still a playoff possibility looming. But let me just tell you, we were talking about this before we went live to tape. Rich Niabala, my lifelong friend, sadly no longer here, one of the winningest coaches in the WPIL, had a successful football career at Beaver Falls, went to the University of Miami, was in a car wreck, unable to play football, became a legendary coach, spent his entire career really in the headlines at Western Beaver. His son, Kim, is now the head coach at Union, so a bit of a connection there. This football team, very formidable. Recently, a WPIL championship team. Coach Niabala has definitely turned them around. But, man, you've got to find a way to keep this team thinking postseason and keep them locked in during practice this week, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked after our game. Last week's behind us. We got to move forward in this week, and our biggest goal this week is we want to finish the season 500. We want to go out, give our seniors a game that they get to walk off the field with a win on their last game, and then, leave it up to committee about playoffs.
Listen, I know you're not going to rest on what success you've had this year, far from what you want to do. Hopefully I'll be back again because the season will roll into the postseason. But what do you really want to see happen with this program now that you're going to have that first season under your belt? And you kind of have a barometer of the teams you'll be playing, where they are talent-wise. And I think because you have such a young football team, you have a chance to really take it to the next level starting next year. Some of the things that have to take place during the offseason, besides the typical stuff, weight room and what have you, you've got to get people in the community continue to stay in it to win it. And you've got to have these underclassmen realizing there's a lot that comes with being a member of this football team.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want in the offseason the guys to become a little bit more football smart on situations, and that way we can do more things, offensive, defensively, the more that they know about the game. So we really want to focus on that. And then, like you said, we want to get in the weight room again. But we just want to continue to build off of what we've done so far this season.
So I was talking to Tommy Contenta, who graduated from here. He's now head assistant coach with Gino DeMarco, talking to Gino DeMarco. He went to school here. We've had some great athletes from New Brighton matriculate across the Beaver Falls, New Brighton Bridge to Geneva. Talk about that opportunity for these high school student athletes in Beaver County to be able to play football at Geneva. That's pretty special, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's so nice to have them, 10 minutes down the road, that if they do want to play at the next level, Coach DeMarco is right down the road, that we can reach out to him. He can come meet with the kids, and some of our guys, I think, fits that program over there. So it's really nice to have them close.
Look, all of the Macugas are special. They mean so much to me. But a lot like his father, likes to be behind the scenes, likes to make it happen. But he's not really big on vocalizing his opinion. He'd rather put some sweat equity into it. And a great electrician by trade, now teaching at the Votech in the New Brighton school system. So I got to ask you, what's it been like having to be in front of the camera or behind the microphone and talking to members of the media every single day?
It's a little bit different. Like you said, I mean, it's nice to be able just to coach football. In the past years, I've been able to do that. This year, I had to rearrange a little bit my thought process on things and make sure that I was ready, for the week with what we talk about having to be with Beaver County Radio. So it was a little bit different than just being able to coach football.
Well, you've done well, but I got to talk a little football with you before I let you go to practice.
Yeah.
Your family is amazing. Now, your father is a lifelong Washington football fan, and now you've got Daniels at quarterback. Marcus Mariota got in this week after Daniels got a bruised rib and had to leave, and they won again. How excited is your dad about Washington this year?
Probably about as excited as I am.
So you're a Washington fan too?
Yeah. Danny's the one that
Lions.
He's one
Detroit Lions.
He's the one that's straight away.
Where did this? I mean, your dad's told me, but we're going back to Theismann and Coach Gibbs and the Hogs up front, Russ Grimm, Mark May. Where did that happen?
Honestly,
is it the Crimson and Gold? I don't know.
It could be. I think maybe he wanted to make my pat. Maybe he was just rooting against him at one point and just fell in love with him.
Twisted a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's nice so that we're able to share that bond, like in the same team. And I think that had a lot to do with why I like him. Is they are New Brighton Kellers, but with my dad liking them when I was little, you just kind of jump on the bandwagon. And like I said, Danny just kind of did his own thing.
Well, here's what's ironic. He got Quinn, the head man now, who's known really for his defensive prowess, something you really were famous for. And Kingsbury's the offensive coordinator, who has that very unique playbook, something your dad was very famous for. So you guys should be right at home.
Yeah. No, that's what I keep telling him, like, jump on board for next year. After Antonio graduates this year, we'd love to have him back.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, one of the things that really excites me is the fact that the Detroit Lions are playing well. And your brother, Dan, who's helped me with so much, I can't even begin to tell you. Whenever I needed to record something or, stop by the studio, was always there for me. Thank you. Much love to him. But I was so proud of the Lions, not so much of what they were accomplishing for the Ford family, but for your brother. Now, how did that start? Because Detroit, up until recently, sadly, has been awful.
I have no idea. Clue where he went down that road. My son likes the Green Bay Packers, him and my nephew. My wife is originally from Texas, so she likes the Cowboys. So our house is a little bit divided when it comes to
who likes Green Bay?
Teams. My son, Jace.
Really?
Yep, him and my nephew Antonio both like Green Bay. I think Sal's still a Denver Broncos fan. So we have a very wide variety of guys that like different teams.
Speaking of that nephew being back in the lineup, that's made a bit of a difference for Rochester. That kid can run the football.
Yeah, he's getting healthier every week, and it's nice to see. I only get to see the stats, or I get to watch maybe the highlights, but it's great to see him back on the field. I'm very proud of him. You
realize he is such a difference maker. Now, his brother was a pretty fair player too at Rochester, but all of you Macugas, speed, power, running the football. And finally, it seems as though a couple of generations later, it's kind of all come to fruition, huh?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, Sal, his senior year, offensive defensive player of the year. Antonio, ever since he's been a freshman, started. I know he had a rough season last year, but this year coming back, the way he's bounced back this year has been incredible to watch.
And Gene, I've been all over, but I always try to make time for you. So hopefully, somehow, some way, Coach Macuga, I'm thinking about you, and truly one of the best ever to be on the sidelines at any level, Coach Gene Macuga. And of course, those young men, their mother, Kelly, very special too. But I got to talk to you about running backs, and I'll let you go. Derrick Henry may be having the best season to date that I've seen in years. They're saying as good as, if not better than some of the greats, including Eric Dickerson. I love watching people run the football, especially out of the power I, that fullback. I still think the run game matters. And the thing that I think will help the Steelers moving forward, not to say Russell Wilson hasn't been a pleasant surprise, not that George Pickens doing those high wire act like catches is great. You got TJ Watt, but you notice that Najee Harris is coming into his own now.
Yeah.
And I think as he goes, this football team will go. Talk about why running the football. And a lot of people like the pass. I like the pass, but sometimes they forget running the football with consistency can really put you in the game, and more times than not, get you on the winning side of things at the end of the game. Talk about the running game, why it's so important.
I mean, to me, I think the running game is important just because, one, it opens up your pass game. If you're pounding the ball, then it opens up, the pass game because they're going to start coming in on you. But I think also it gives your lineman a sense of pride of, we're able to beat the guy over top of us, so stick behind us and we'll lead you to the end zone. So I think that's one of the big reasons why I like the run game, is because if our line is able to push people around, then we can just stay behind them and they lead us into the end zone. I know they never get the glory, but that is very prideful for them.
Well, here's what you need to do. A little bit of throwback. If you come back and for future years, maybe the greatest running back I've ever seen out of Beaver County, next to Essex Law, who I still think is the best ever, along with Tony Dorsett. The Ron Poe James played here in the late 60s. They had the Hit Me Hit shirts, the little crimson and gold tassel caps with a little gold tassel on the top. I love the history of New Brighton and everything it stands for. And hopefully someday we'll find a building down there on Main Street and put some of this memorabilia in there, because there's so much. And so many other players that I have witnessed through the years, and you probably don't even remember this young man, sadly no longer with us, but one of the best running backs that I've ever seen. And there's been some great ones. Big Ed Florence, his son, Scotty Florence, lots of them, right? Jeffrey Murdoch. You probably don't remember him. But let me tell you something. If anybody in the alumni group is watching this right now, Jeffrey Murdoch running the football was sheer magic. And I can still remember those clean, cool, crisp fall nights here at Oak Hill under the lights, watching Jeffrey Murdoch return a kickoff or a punt or taking that handoff. He was really one of the best ever. Poetry in motion. Just had to throw that out there. A little old school. And here he is, the new man on campus, the head coach of the New Brighton Lions, wishing them the best of luck this Friday against Union. And hopefully we can push this into the postseason. Don't forget those Coons Quality Food Sports Reports Saturday and Sunday morning with me on KDK. We've got that Coons Market here in Hopewell, and we've got altogether 8 great locations to serve you for all of your tailgate parties, whether it's a Friday night, college football weekend afternoon, of course, Pitt taking on Syracuse Thursday at Accushore Stadium, and of course the Steelers. They're playing Monday night against the Giants. So how do you find that Coons Market nearest you? Click on coonsmarket.com. And don't forget the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday show this week and every week after local news at 11. And there's always more sports like right now at 937thefan.com. It's your Pratt Pack with Coach Macuga. Back on the radio tonight shortly after local news at 6. Until then, so long from Oak Hill Field in beautiful New Brighton, Pennsylvania.